Welcome everyone to Inside Fashion Design Community Conversations. This week, we're very excited to be participating in what's called Catalyst 2030 Change Week. And what that is an organization that has members of all different types of businesses, not specific to fashion, but their goal and mission is to work with companies to meet the United Nations sustainability goals. So part of that week-long event, which is happening right now, we've been invited to host a couple of sessions. So we hosted a first session, which was based on Sia Chege's brand, Bebe Rave, who does knitting out of Kenya in Africa, where she's from. And so I found it really fascinating that we discussed the hand knitting done by local women there and how now this session is going to be all advanced technology using machinery that was originally for lace making and how that's turned into a braiding technology that is a zero waste product. So we'll get into that in a moment. I'll introduce myself. My name is Britta Cabanos. I'm the founder of Inside Fashion Design, and we are an online platform that's providing resources, design tools, and community for really focusing on ethical and sustainable fashion and best practices so we can make a stronger social impact in the industry. So with that said, I would like to welcome Brad and Terri Jamison. They're tuning in from upstate New York, one of my favorite places, and happy to introduce them and connect with them. And their story is fascinating and not industry fashion people per se, but have gone through this journey and now are part of the apparel world as well as some other products that they're making. So I'd love to just pass it to Brad and Terri, and just if you could start by just introducing yourselves, and then we'll walk through some questions. We're going to take a look at your machines working live as you give us a little inside tour. So we'll get to that. And just to kick it off, could you share just a little bit about your background and introduce yourself?
Hi, Brad Jamison. Thanks for having me. Yeah, Terri and I have been married for quite a while, and I have started career in tree work and moved on and helped Terri with a graphic design business, and then on to braiding later in my life. Terri?
And I'm Terri, the other half, and I generally help Brad with operations and marketing and all that other necessary stuff with the braiding. It's been a real adventure that we've been on, and we're grateful to be here and to share it with you.
And I'll say Terri is sitting on the floor in their room next to all the mannequins. So we will get to that too. You'll be able to see some of the products that they've made. And yeah, so it's incredible to me that you started doing tree work and now this is where you are. So can you tell us a little bit of your journey of how did you even start with these kind of the technology and the product that you started with, and how that journey kind of evolved to where you are now?
Sure. Yeah, from tree work, I started working with wood and making sleds and other interesting products like that, and I wanted to make them lighter weight. So I got into composite technologies, working with composites, and as a bit of an inventor, I came up with a oversized badminton bird that it's got a soft foam head. And came up with that because we lived on a hill, and the balls kept rolling down the hill away from us. It was a ball that wouldn't roll away from us.
Brad, do you want me to do some slides with that?
Feel free to add some slides if you.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So where did that lead us? This particular tool here is where I first started braiding, and or hand lacing fibers on this pin cushion sort of object, the same way the old fashioned girls would pull lace by hand back in the day, where Terry could show us a picture of some old fashioned lace making, which was quite similar. This would have been in the round. I did this, around the tube. So I had a circular lace braided sort of thing, unlike the picture there that, shows it lace is generally produced on the flat. So, having some success in hand pulling composite and producing composite structures, this is one of the first birds I pulled off of here, hand laced, and then created composite structure and added the soft foam head, and it functioned pretty well. So, of course, I didn't want to, have to hand pull these, since I was looking to mass market this as a play ball for kids mostly. I looked for a machine that could do this for me. Could in fact create the same pattern that I had created while hand lacing. So looking around, we eventually, not knowing that a lace braider was a circular programmable braiding machine, which is basically what I was needed to produce this. I did try and invent it, and then looked around some more and wound up figuring out that a lace braiding machine is well disguised as a circular programmable braiding machine that could produce this and many other patterns. Those machines, what they look like in the old days there, and Terry has another picture that shows those machines running by with a punch card. And eventually, looking around, we saw that there was a factory in Rhode Island that was still running these lace braiding machines on punch cards. It was, classic old textile factory, and the last of its kind in the States, running lace braiding machines. So we went and visited them. Quite an interesting experience. This was a gift from them. It was what they would put the material after coming off the braiding machine. It would drop into tubes like that, and I do similar things. So I asked them whether they would produce this pattern for me, and those punch cards can be pretty hard to set up and program, I imagine, basically to punch the right holes in them. So they declined. About a year later, I went back and asked them whether they'd sell me a machine, and they said they had just sold all their machines off to China. So that was the last of the old-fashioned lace braiding machines in the United States.
Brad, can I ask you, was that just due to lack of orders coming in because everything had moved to China, and did they close up, or what was happening then?
Yeah, boy, so much New England textiles had gone down the hill, it disappeared, and this was, a hanger on. I suspect they were fairly inefficient, and lace wasn't particularly popular and wasn't pulling a decent price.
Yeah, so everything left.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. Fortunately, China sort of saw the value of them as programmable braiding machines, and so they put computers on and solenoids. Instead of the punch card, they put computer programs running your patterns that you would program into them, and some nice software to go along with the things, so you could create the patterns much easier than punching cards.
What year about was that?
I think 2007 is when they first came out with the first generation of computerized lace braiding machines.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, it was interesting. They sold it to us as new, but it was pretty clear that they were, all the heavy mechanics of it could have been 100 years old.
Wow. So you purchased one machine and
Yep.
had it shipped back to you.
Yep. It was neat. It came with a person to help me learn how to run it.
Excellent.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we were never able to get it to run.
You were not?
No. So
It didn't work properly, or what was the challenge?
we couldn't get the screen. It has a little touch screen interface, and we couldn't get it to function. Took me about a month to realize what the issue was after just trying and trying, that it was humidity sensitive. And so we just had to let it run long enough to dry itself out.
Okay. You must have been frustrated after making the purchase, shipping it all the way back from China, and then you can't get it to work.
Yeah, with a helper here, to try and help me from China.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to get an interpreter so we could talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it was fun.
your intention at that stage was to make these birdies, and that to be a form of business around selling those.
Correct. Yeah.
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 And that never came to fruition.
No, I had tried so many different patterns to create strong birds. I really tested out the ability of the machines to create different patterns with different structural capabilities. And so that's sort of where I kept driving to get a lighter bird with more strength and with the right composite materials. And it was really quite difficult. Eventually.
I think it was not so much strength, it was impact resistance. We wanted to create lightweight composites that were impact resistant.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of creating the right pattern that you could hit it and smash it and kick it, and it would endure.
It would hold up. Yeah.
It would hold up. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, if we can call that a failure, say that's, something that didn't work. So you kept going and experimenting and then coming up with different patterns and braiding techniques.
Well, either that or Nike called us and it kind of shifted our focus. Yeah, I felt like the machine was capable of making the lightest weight products for, a number of end uses. And shoes, was turned out to be one of them that it's particularly good at. So we went down that road for a while.
Yeah, that must have stirred up a whole new set of ideas and capabilities of what you could do with this machine.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have the slides, but you were showing me previously some of the patterns. Terry, I don't know if you have access to those slides, or we can skip it, but if you had them, they were interesting to see kind of some of the patterns that you started to develop.
Brad, do you want me? I don't have your file of patterns. Do you want to try to do that?
You can give it a shot, and if not, that's okay.
Some of the
you had showed us the just some slides that had the pattern, and they're going over, under. You were talking about how the yarns kind of lay on top of each other.
Sure. And let's see. Yeah, it's interesting what I wound up figuring out, having played with so many different patterns, and wound up patenting 2 families of patterns. And that's not it. And let's see if I can find another. I found this pattern one of the most interesting. If you can see that one.
Yeah.
It's basically a chain link fence. and a chain link fence and a hammock happen to be woven just in the same manner. And this one's particularly interesting in that it's two chain link fences that are travel in opposite directions, and not opposite. I say travel perpendicular to one another. So if you were able to pick out all the dark strands, you might be able to see a chain link fence traveling in one direction, and all the light strands would be a chain link fence traveling in yet another direction. What's perhaps most interesting to me on this is that I just saw a YouTube video on NASA's creating wheels for Moon and Mars rovers, and they amounted to being chain link fences that functioned as wheels, and they're indestructible wheels, and they actually created bicycle wheels now that are basically a slinky on a bicycle wheel.
Wow.
Yeah. So I actually tried to get in touch with them and say, well, that's pretty interesting. You should try this pattern and see if that doesn't even improve the structural capabilities there.
Yeah, is it just the strength that it has from doing that particular chain link
Wow.
braid?
Good question. From our point of view, stability was a big part of what we needed. It was easy for the fibers to become displaced, meaning get sort of messed up, not keep a uniformity. So a pattern that created a nice stable material was key, and I think that in the end creates more strength if it's a stable pattern. Where the strength comes from on this and stuff like wheels seems to be in the spiraling paths of the metal, as it were, if it were a chain link fence, a hammock. It's the linking of the material, I think, that displaces the tensional forces placed on the material.
Yeah. You had mentioned a shoe, working on a shoe, and Nike had approached you, and then you went down that direction and started working on some shoe design. Could you share a little bit about that? I think one of your slides here is that pattern.
Yeah, you're looking
That
at my
guy, yeah.
slides still.
Yeah.
That's a pattern of a shoe shown on the original software I got for the first generation Mace braiding machine. That could be, might be a little difficult to understand there. Down through the middle would be the laces that I basically program into the pattern so that they're produced right along with the rest of the upper and lower of the shoe, basically a tubular product that comes out with laces already included.
Yeah. Terry, did you have a sample of that?
I do have some shoe things here. Let me.
Shoes behind you there.
Oh, you want to
I'd
see the
imagine
real
that you
live
could just
shoes?
pick up
I
the
like
shoe.
this picture if you can only see it. Now this is looking inside a shoe, and I'll show you which shoe it is.
This is me.
Now,
I'd
what I
really
want
want to stop.
There we go.
sharing them.
Yeah, what I want you to note is that everything in this kind of skeletal structure, we'll call it, is interconnected. So what you're looking at the inside of the shoe, and oops, sorry. And
Just the black yarns there would have been the laces that were programmed right into that shoe.
Yeah.
and see that is this shoe right
There you
here.
go.
And this is a one piece of Kevlar. It's made from Kevlar, and as you can see, everything's integrated. It's and Kevlar is an aramid fiber, And so when Brad makes a shoe, he can do everything from make the lace hole apertures to putting the laces actually in the shoe. So when an upper comes off the machine, it's you know, at least a skeletal structure that you can build upon, you know, pretty much ready to go to have, you know, the sole connected to it or whatever other elements you want to add.
I'm just amazed that it went from lace making to something like that, like so advanced.
Oh, it is incredible. And here's some other.
Yeah, Terry, you had some swatches and other things you could show.
Yeah, these would be here with some other just shoes, I suppose. You know, Brad got into making composite soles. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
So Brad, why don't you?
There was some difficulty with that software I got with the first generation machine. We did wind up getting second generation machines, which came with particularly improved software to allow for some more advanced patterning with a whole lot of stuff.
So not only did you need to learn the machine, you needed to learn the software and how to create the engineered patterns.
Yeah, I kind of wrote my own sort of program in a graphic design software package, sort of like Adobe Illustrator, that allowed me to really visualize the fibers and how they would link. And so I largely created patterns through my own sort of interface with the computer.
A lot of experimentation, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, Terry, you had some swatches now kind of moving from the shoe and going beyond now to other products. And you had some interesting swatches to share.
I don't know how well you can see. These are just all different, let's say, patterns. And some of them can get quite ornate.
Like fishnet stockings.
Yeah, all sorts of fishnet stockings, indeed. And, you know, adding colors.
Yeah, could you talk about the material, the fiber that you're using for, not for the shoe, because that's a composite, but for these items that now you've also started developing?
We're actually using right now Supima cotton and pencil fiber, and it's very difficult for you know, small manufacturers like us to get fibers because the larger companies want to sell you, you know, a lot of pounds of fibers. And so we're always trying to find fibers in smaller amounts, factory overruns, factory seconds, you know, on eBay and through other secondary sales venues.
Yes.
But
Challenging when you're a smaller maker.
it is hard to get fibers for sure. But Tencel is, and you probably all know this, but you know, we use Tencel because it's a rayon, but they do say that they recycle the chemicals that they use to break down the pulp, and the pulp that they use is from eucalyptus trees, I believe, or eucalyptus plants.
Yeah, so environmentally friendly.
So they say.
Yeah. Brad, maybe we can have you head towards your machinery and we can get a glimpse of that and those in the works. And then behind Terry, we'll come back to you and show some of the products that you've, you know, the bodywear pieces and some of the other things that you guys have created. So I know you have some machines, you have an actual factory kind of space, and then you also have some machines at home. Is that how you work, or what's your setup?
I wouldn't mind showing this little ditty off first. This we're producing bras on this I made recently. This side is function as a tensioner. I have all the the bras basically up on a coil here that have come off a machine in one. And then they go up through a tensioning device across the table where I put a little bit of skin safe silicone foam on a line and put a bit of cotton batting on them. That really secures the edges for me. And then they are pulled through this drive mechanism all the way down and through. That's one of the, improvements I've made to production capabilities for these pieces. It does seem like having to compete cost.
Yeah.
This would be my factory room. A large 128 machine there. In the distance. We slide around, we'll see a 96 carrier machine. And going in, we see my two 64 carrier lace braiding machines. This one is pulling off some elastic yarn, which I can use for bands and other things. Elastic does seem to be one of the more consumable products that are being produced on these machines these days. I believe in England, the only other lace braider we know of is producing elastic bands. Here I'm producing an elasticated yarn, basically have one end of elastic and inside of a very inside of four ends. I have four ends of cotton and tencel braided around one elastic band, which makes for a nice elastic yarn, which I then am able to braid into a bra on one of the larger machines. I don't know whether you wanted to hear them run for a minute or.
Yeah, I would love to. Could you, before you turn one on, could you explain the differences of the quantity of spools? Like different machines have different amount of spools.
Yeah, from my, for me, it's all about how things divide into the number of spools, because I'm always trying to fill a table. And so it's the 96 table, I have 6 and 4 and a lot of divisibles on. And the big 128 table, there's not as many divisibles in it. So the pattern, it limits me in my patterns a bit.
So that's 128 spools.
Yeah, spindles on the machine.
Wow.
There's a company in Germany, Krenzler, that has said to have made a 144 machine, which is the golden number as far as I'm concerned, and because the amount of divisibles you could get into it.
Does that just mean you can do more with the pattern or the design, or what's the advantage of the higher number?
It's not the higher number so much as how many
Divisibles
I can get into it. I wind up, when I'm creating a pattern, I use as small a block as possible and then just stretch that pattern out, repeat that pattern. And so it comes down to how big that pattern is that it'll fit into the number 96 or 128 correctly.
Mm. And what happens if one of those spools, the thread breaks?
No, the machine stops. They do come with yarn break systems, and so when a yarn breaks, there's a little collar that drops down and hits a little bar and stops the machine.
Okay, and is it a big deal for you to rethread it? Is that a huge amount of work, or is it fairly?
No, it's just retying or putting the end back on.
Okay.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, I've broken the machines a lot. I've had to learn how to fix them and sort of know them inside out. But once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I get mad just when my bobbin thread in my sewing machine breaks because I have to stop and rethread and start over. And
Mhm.
yeah, so yeah, we'd love to see some machines in work. So whatever you want to turn on, that would be really fascinating to see them in action.
Yeah, I hope the video can pick up the movement well enough, or
Brad, do you want me to come down and film that with you?
yeah, it might be better. I see the lighting's a little bad here.
All right.
Try and pick up.
Carrie's gonna run down the stairs.
Yeah. Um,
We're making you work today.
Oh,
this machine is braiding yarns, as I stated, with one elastic yarn in yellow here and two Supima yarns in the green, and one Tencel yarn in the blue. And so these four yarns will be braided around each other in a pattern I described, and then be pulled up and I'll have 8 of them coming off the machine.
So that's just the yarn, and then that will go into the actual knitting of a garment. Is that right?
Yes, then
Like
they
first you make just the threads, the strands.
correct. Yeah, like here I would then take those strands and put them together here to create this portion, the strap portion of a bra. They get interlaced right into the bra with the other non-elasticated strands.
Yeah. So you have to make yards and yards and yards of the strands first and then fill all the spools.
Correct. Like a bra uses, I think, like 14 elasticated strands on a 96 carrier machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting for Terry to come join you,
Are
Oh,
you waiting for me? Can't see me?
we can see a machine. Oh, you're switching to yours, so it should be. There we go. Is that you?
Okay. This all right. So yeah, this is, and as you see here, I'll show you this. Well, you're running that machine over there. Okay.
How many spools are on the machine for the bras?
Well, the summer bra that we make out of the Tencel is made on a 96 machine, which is this machine right here.
Okay.
And this actually, if you can see this, is a bra coming off. You can see it go like
Yep.
that. And
Okay.
then we're gonna go over here.
And believe it or not, those are several bras.
That's a whole line of bras. As you can see this here, can you put it like, so you hold it up?
What
There
is
you go.
the red strands? Is that just a marker of some kind, or is that part of a design?
That was just part of a design.
Okay.
Putting a little heart in there.
Yeah.
somewhere.
So what is so amazing about this is that it's zero waste. So you're literally just sewing braiding those, and then you snip them apart. And then you kind of hand stitch them together in the back or the center front.
That's that little gizmo machine I showed you earlier is where they do that. They go through that machine, and then the ends get the matrix with the cotton batting placed on the ends, and then they would go through a sewing process.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you want to run that machine, Brad? We'll give you.
Yeah, I suspect we'll lose our audio with you for a bit, but you can hear the sound of them, and perhaps you'll be able to watch those those yarns move around to create an elasticated yarn. This is the touch screen interface that we have with the machine. So yeah.
They're dancing. It's like they're all doing a choreographed dance.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed, that is what it is.
How long does that take? Because you see the spools moving, but it doesn't look like it's not spitting this out super fast. Is it kind of a long, slower process?
The bras come off the machine pretty fast. A bra comes off the machine in 4 minutes. At the rate the machines are running, I can speed them up. The elastic tends to come off fast or quite a bit slower, and the yarns they are making probably run them as slow as pretty slow. In so much that it would take me about a day of running the machine to create the 8 spools that I could feel coming off of that machine.
How many bras, that particular style, say, could you make in a day?
A machine could run off about 100 bras a day.
Okay. Yeah. Terry, I know you had back upstairs, probably. If you want to run up there, you could show us what the bras look like. And you have a couple different styles. And I've worked on, like you said, a winter bra and a summer bra, just kind of different weights, slightly different material. We'd love to see some of those. And then you've done other products as well. So with all these machines, it'll be fun to see what you guys have created.
Yeah, I always like this view. I only want to comment on it because we have Brad's clean room downstairs with his lace braiding machines and his woodworking studio upstairs. So it is the two sides of a.
He's a multi-talented, skilled craftsman.
Indeed.
Amazing. Did you think you'd end up in kind of a fashion garment world?
Goodness, no.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't.
Funny how things lead you down a certain path.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. But it's so much fun. And we just really have grown to love this art and, you know, what we can do with it. It's just such a gift to be able to share, you know, this with the world, honestly.
And I can personally attest to the comfort and the quality of these bras. I've been wear testing them and I live in it because it's the most comfortable thing ever. And you can flip them forward and backwards, kind of reversible too. And so I've worn them both ways, and sometimes they're kind of peeking out from under like a summer dress or something that I was wearing. And I've gotten comments, I think, every time that I've worn it. People have asked, what is that? And so they're beautifully done. I'm really in love with the product.
That's so sweet of you to say. We really appreciate how you've helped us, Britta. It means a lot to us.
Yeah. Can you show us like maybe some of the details of a bra a little more close up?
Yeah, you know, I am trying.
There we are.
Well, I'm trying to flip my screen, and for some reason I'm having a hard time doing it.
Yeah, such a
right, here we go.
Oh, we can see you now.
There.
Um,
All right, so for instance, this is how the bras come off on one big roll, and you have, lots and lots of bras. And I think the interesting thing to note is when all these bras are sized differently. So when we can size them cup and band right on the machine. So, he can just program in and say, I want to make a 34B or a 34C, and that's how it comes. I don't know, can you see me when my phone keeps turning off?
Yeah, now we can. It went out for a second, but you're back.
I don't know why it's happening. So I put these on here like this. I layered them just so it would be easy. This one is it's called a high-low, and it's got an integrated band, elastic band. So there's a little elastic here, and there's no elastic in the body of the bras. And so it just takes your shape naturally. And then there's some elastic. Geez, why does that stop? And there's some elastic in the bands. And we call it high-low because this is one side of it, which is the low cut side, as you can see. And then when you turn it around, voila, it's we have the high side, we call it. And so you can see high, and
so pretty.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we have 3 styles. Well, we actually have 6 styles that we make of bras. These summer ones are made with Supima cotton and tencel, and then the summer ones are just made with tencel, and the winter ones are made with Supima cotton and tencel.
So it's just a little bit heavier.
It's heavier, it's a little bit bigger because this is made on a 128 spindle machine, the winter ones, and the summer ones are made, why does that keep happening? On a 96 spindle machine.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
like
go ahead, Brad.
I like to give all the credit to the machine for coming up with the patterns. It is what they like to do, is run good patterns. And so it's interesting how they seem to be influenced by nature to create patterns that run well and function well.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a piece of technology, yet it kind of has an intuitive way about it.
Quite, yeah.
So what other products are you working on? Do you have, I know you've done some other bodywear pieces, and you also had shown me previously even some home goods that were really interesting. And I don't know if you have any of those to share, and then just talking about like what you're working on for the future.
Well, Brad, do you want to show? Let me share. We've done.
Like this technology can be used for so many things, right? You could apply this to multiple products.
Absolutely. We've done everything from home goods. We did lamps for a company in Italy called Artemide. They were very large composites that Brad made. I'm looking for that. I'm sorry, it's taken me some time.
Do you know how they found you? Did they just reach out through, I don't know, email and say, hey, can you make these lamp covers?
Yeah, well, we're part of a material library in New York City called Material Connections.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And they've hooked us up with, loads of very interesting people. And so we're in a global library. So, people from all over the world can go to the Material Connections library and touch materials and use their imaginations to conceive of, how they could use these.
Yeah, those are gorgeous, gorgeous.
Yeah, these were the lamps that we made for them. And those are just really large composites. Brad, do you want to show that you have there?
No, yes, I could. So this is how I made birds. I use badminton birds. We pull the material over a tube, hang the tube like this, and put forms down through it so that
Oh, neat.
and I don't know, since you're sharing there, right? And to create those lamps, I would put the material over a trash can, and we would put a balloon down through it and would pick up the material as it went through. And then we would later be able to invert the material before it was fully cured.
Very high tech. A bucket and a balloon, and look at the stunning product that came from that. So you don't need all this fancy equipment. You can just use your buckets and your yeah. Well, we are coming up at 10 minutes to the hour, and opening up for questions, but I'd also love to hear from Brad and Terri. What are your hopes for the future, and what do you have? I know you had also mentioned you'd work on some medical equipment, medical devices that could be, to me, sound revolutionary. Is there a, I guess, what are you most excited about in the future for your work and things that you're wanting to develop or working on currently that's a future product?
Brad, do you want to take that?
Yeah,
If you can share.
sure. Yeah, that NASA project I mentioned was quite interesting. I hear, they're developing a new props for not only drones and airplanes, but boats as well, that are quite a bit more efficient, and they work on a toroidal principle, if not shape. And so much of what we do seems to parallel some of the newer technologies, function and form. So, I would like to see how much we can learn from this regarding structural and performance qualities of materials. How light can we get materials, and so to conserve as much energy producing them and while they're being used.
Yeah, one of the fantastic things about all of this is the environmental and sustainable and zero waste outcomes that you're able to achieve with this.
Yeah, I feel like just the lightweight sort of defines the reduction of waste and energy that goes into the production of the material itself.
I feel like this is just such a cool through line from like old artisan techniques into like how can we modernize them. And I guess I don't have a question. I just want to say I feel like you guys are going to be rich, because I feel like these are so trendy and just like could be such a good staple in somebody's wardrobe. Like the lace designs, it looks like you could buy this for, I don't know, $200 at Anthropologie, and it would be your new favorite thing in your wardrobe. But like the fact that it's so versatile and you could take it in so many different directions is so cool. I love it. Yeah. Thanks for sharing today.
I love it too, because you look back to those original pictures you showed, the black and whites, and what was that, like early 1900s or whenever, and the technology that they built then.
That's so cool.
Is so cool. And Sloan, like to your comment, the quality, it's not fast fashion. You're talking about slow fashion, which is more appreciated and you can pay more for it. Like I would pay so much more for that broad design than from, somewhere else, like a lot cheaper version. And you're getting the quality, you're getting the comfort. They're truly, I'm not just saying this because you're my guest, but they're amazing. I fall asleep.
And they
in them.
also, they look awesome.
They're
Like,
beautiful.
yeah, they're beautiful.
They're just beautiful. So yeah. Does anyone else have a question for Brad or Terry?
I want one. Where do I get one?
Actually, Sloan, I have some wear test garments, so I can pass you one. We are
Yes.
we are helping LaJean Lawson, who wasn't able to make it today because she's relocating back to Portland here. She's our Dr. Bra guru, has been working with Brad and Terry and along with myself, working on just talking about some future developments. And we've done some wear testing and got some feedback from some people here that have been wearing. So we're still, we hope to be involved in the future development and where this leads. And it's just a product I think you can be super proud of. And it's just, yeah, it's really amazing to see it from the old days into what it's morphed into. And so any other questions for Brad and Terry? And then Brad and Terry, just sharing how people can reach you as well. So if anyone wants to connect further after this, or anyone can message me or email me, I can always connect you as well. But before we do that, any other thoughts, comments from anyone? So, see Amanda.
Oh, that was amazing. I love what you guys do. Would love to have a tour. Do you guys have people like visit and watch you work? I mean, that is like really amazing. I love it.
I'll interrupt for a second. Brad and Terry, see Amanda's in Manhattan on the east side. So maybe she could road trip up to the Adirondacks and visit you. I would love to get there myself too. So it would be great on one of my New York visits to road trip up and meet you in person and see the machines.
Yeah, it looks really
really
complicated. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'd love to share our product. We need more testers, so do be in touch and we'll share and you can give us feedback and we'll
Okay.
appreciate the input.
Yeah, and I know Brad and Terry, you're open to collaborations and partnerships as well. So feel free to reach out so your website. I guess I didn't mention this in the beginning. You're calling it's TEF Braids, correct?
Yeah.
But then you have Tensa Grill, which is what's the name mean? And that's your URL for your website.
Tensengral.
Tensengral.
Yeah, I believe it to be a different tense of the word tensegrity, developed by Buckminster Fuller to denote structures that are in tension. And so I believe tensengral then is a word we came up with to suggest our products that live in this state of tensegrity, which we might define as a balanced tension amongst the members.
Okay, and then the TEF is
TEF braids functions more for all the different products that we can produce. The tensengral tends to be our fashion wear side. Tensengral does or TEF braids pushes all the different type of products that we're able to produce.
okay. I just put in the chat the website. But as I mentioned, if anyone wants to connect and you can't find them for whatever reason, you can reach out to me. But if you Google that, I know it pops up and you sell product directly from your website to consumer?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we're, like I said, we're always looking for testers, so you could just contact us and we'd be happy to give you free samples for your analysis. Since we are just trying to hone down everything before we try and hit the market too hard.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and sharing your story, and it's inspiring, and we wish you super, you know, success in the future. I think what you're doing is just beautiful, and love that you're kind of like this. I see you as a mad scientist behind the curtain, you know, coming up with all these amazing things, and it's really just fun to see what you're creating and inventing and offering as product for the future.
It's nice. The person, again, I'm gonna give it to the machine. The personality of the machines are quite friendly, and they do want to produce nice things for you guys to.
Excellent.
Thanks for all the
Yeah.
positive
Thanks
feedback.
for visiting, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for coming, and we'll see you in the next one. And again, if anyone has any questions or wants to reach out and has any issues, you can find me anywhere and I can pass along, or just Google them. I'm sure you'll find them. So I appreciate everyone's time. Brad and Terri, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Keep doing the great work, and we'll see you around.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for the
Bye.
compliments. Appreciate it. Guys,